fierce challenge of Mount Marathon brings athletes of all ages together in the wilds of Alaska in pursuit of a single quest, finding the finish line. The adults will climb and then descend 3,000 vertical feet in less than a mile, at times facing grades above 60%. These brave souls aren't just racing for prize money. There isn't any. They run for pride, displayed as scrapes and bruises. And they run for bragging rights and the privilege to say they finish a race only a few hundred people a year get to attempt. Live from Seward, Alaska, for the first time, it's the junior race, featuring fireballs as young as 7 years old. Live on KTVA GCI, Channel 907, and KTVA.com.
Of Mount Marathon in Seward on KTVA and all of our platforms. Happy to have you with us. Dave Goldman, Emily Carlson, Clint McCool, and we're just about to set for the first of our 3 races today as the juniors get going. Clint McCool, you just said it here as we were in our open. If we could just hold this weather right now for the next 8 hours, we'd be in great shape. The juniors have a terrific course today and terrific conditions to go up that mountain.
Absolutely. The juniors are anxious. They're at the starting line right now. The energy is just bursting around here. These guys are ready to run, and the conditions couldn't be better. I'm looking around thinking, I wish I had race conditions like this myself.
The sun's out. It's going to be pretty hot, though. 70, could get up to 75. So while the juniors, good conditions for them, the day only gets hotter as we go along.
Absolutely, Emily. You women this year, it's going to be your turn.
You'll get it.
Feel the heat in the afternoon.
Yeah, the sun already is starting to rise, and so is the temperature, too. We're going to see some new winners today. We've got a couple of storylines to go in each of the divisions today as we start with the juniors there. Luke Yeager, not here anymore. He's running with the big guys, so he'll check and see how it is going all the way up and down and running with the gentlemen. And then, of course, on the ladies' side, Molly Gellert also not here. So we're going to see a couple of new winners here, some new blood, and that next generation going to be ushering in for those juniors who are going to catch this Mount Marathon bug and hopefully be running this thing for the next 20 years.
And that's one of the things that's so exciting right now. Since we don't have a returning champion, there are a bunch of contenders out there that are all thinking it could be me. And there's a level of excitement because no one's really looking and just saying, oh, Luke's got it again or Molly's got it again. Now everyone out there is thinking it could be me.
Yeah, and the winners are normally, I mean, the juniors go up to age 18, but you've got kids that are 7. You only have to be 7 to run Mount Marathon. So we were talking earlier, it's great to see them take off because you've got guys that are 6'2", and then little kids that are 4'2", all trying to get up at the mountain at the same time.
I'm telling you, you see these little guys down here up to your knee, and you think he's lost. Mom and Dad, we're gonna hear the announcement any minute now. No, he's running. She's running in the race. It's terrific. A great day today. As you can see, they're anxious to go. Obviously, most of the gentlemen not wearing shirts. They're ready to roll. The ladies, of course, ready with their bibs on the shorts in the front so we can ID everyone here today. And this has got to be an anxious moment in time right here, this butterfly moment.
It's tremendously unpleasant. I can tell you from toeing the line myself so many times. Right now, all you want to do is just go. You're like a spring that's wound up, and the anxiety and just the anxious energy, believe me, every one of those kids are saying, let's stop all this talking and just hit the gun.
30 seconds seems like about 5 minutes. And the juniors, by the way, guys, go to the halfway point. So they're going to go halfway, there's a pole, and then they're going to come back down. So cameras, you're looking at a drone right now. We've got 17 cameras on the mountain for you guys, ladies and gentlemen, today. You're going to get every view from the air. We've got John Thane in the roots. You got the base of the mountain, the finish line. There's the roots right there is where they come up. Once they hit the bottom, the base right there is the roots. And here's our mountain cameras. We've got our crew who slept out last night on top of the mountain to bring you these gorgeous views. You can see Resurrection Bay. Man, what a...
They were looking for an excuse to cam. Don't hand me that.
I was up there last night. They were enjoying themselves.
As they should. Our crew making sure this happens. Folks, this is a long event and a long prep here. You know, it's one thing to set up for a basketball game or a baseball game. Everything is set and flat. And then you look up there and say, wait a minute, we got to get the stuff up there. and our group and crew does every year magically.
Yeah, the drone footage we're going to have this year is just going to be spectacular.
You know, as we look back down here with the juniors anxiously fidgeting, ready, waiting, trying to kick out those last few kinks, see a lot of clean knees and arms and elbows. It won't look like that when they come back down.
It won't look like that for long.
No, no. Look at those nerves. We got to get the shoulder shrug going on.
Oh, yeah.
Come on, guys.
Here they go. They're getting ready.
Final call. They should all be there now. Set for race start. Stewart's Cliff Draper. They're going up right now. Let's be ready. There they go, folks.
And here we go. Mount Marathon, the 91st running, is officially underway as the juniors taking off and heading up the hill.
There's actually a tiny little part of me that just wants to jump right in with them. I might have a chance in the juniors race.
Yeah.
You got guys who are taller than you, McCool. You could run in and no one would ever know. The only difference, you got the jeans on. I don't think anybody's wearing pants.
I saw one person that had pants on. He's going to be pretty
That's
hot.
the smart one, right. But the legs will look better coming back down.
There you go.
So, as we get into the strategy now, even for some of these older juniors, the 16, 17-year-olds, some of them are thinking, as we've always said, get to that front, don't get caught in traffic.
Sure. What you're going to see right away, ladies and gentlemen, as our cameras take you up the street and heading towards the mountain, is the runners that are coming off their really strong track seasons. You've got 14, 15, 16-year-old runners that are just coming off of racing the mile, the 2 mile, and they've got a lot of road speed, and they're going to get to the mountain quick. The strategy is to get to the mountain ahead of the pack, relax a little bit, getting up through the cliff, and then the real mountain race starts when you get above the cliff.
And you both have said, if you get behind some slow movers, that's it. You got to find a way to navigate, and there's just not a lot of room to pass, is there?
Not in the roots and the cliff. So if you hit the mountain and you're not where you want to be, you might have to wait a while until you pass someone.
That is one of the challenging things about this race, is it becomes such a bottleneck. There are sections of the race, of course, right now, where the vegetation is so overgrown that it's actually touching each other from both sides. The issue with that is it makes it very difficult to pass anyone. So getting into the front in terms of strategy is very important.
Yeah, and the juniors have one wave, but both the men and the women, you're going to see 2 waves. So at 2 and then 2:05 for the women, you got the contenders in the first wave, and then I'll be right there in the second wave, which is just fine with me. I'm in the second wave and then run as fast as I can to the mountain and try the cliffs. And then you got the cliffs and you got the roots. You got to make a decision. Are you going to climb up that big cliff, or are you going to go in the roots, which have better holds, roots, trees to hang on to?
You know, in sports, they call them contenders or pretenders. Folks, there are no pretenders in this race. If you're running Mount Marathon, you're earning it. It doesn't matter what place you're coming in. When you take a look at that hill, and when we see these kids come down, and the men and the women today, you'll know. You're going to see some pictures today that you've never seen if this is your first viewing of this race. We're glad to have you with us. There's no such thing as a pretender here. If you make this race and you get to that finish line, you've earned it.
Absolutely. For the audience out there, if you could see the degree of difficulty that these little kids, and I mean that in the most flattering way, but there are 7- and 8-year-olds out there. I'm not sure. Sometimes I look at this footage and I'm thinking to myself, I'm not sure I'd let my own child do that. I mean, it is a little, any parent watching has to be going, careful, careful.
You've called this a controlled fall.
It is, absolutely. It is exactly that. It's a controlled fall.
Because you spend so much energy going up, and on a day like today, and we've talked about nice conditions here, but it's still warm, and once you get up into that stuff, you're going to really start to feel it. So you've expended a lot of energy to get to the top, and then you got to turn around, and now you've got the Space Mountain ride on the way down.
Yeah, it's absolutely amazing and very difficult to comprehend if you haven't been down here to see it yourself. We'll talk about it later with the adults race when they have to go to the top and back, but that's 1 mile from the top of that mountain back down to the road, and the fastest guys will do it in under 6 minutes. That's very difficult.
That's insane.
That's very difficult for an average road runner to go out and run a 6-minute mile. One thing, to run a 6-minute mile going down a 35-degree slope, navigating a creek, boulders, and a cliff is a whole nother thing.
And by the time you get down, your legs are kind of shot already, so you're just kind of pounding on the thighs to make sure they're still there while you're coming down the mountain.
It's a truly specialized sport because if you are a runner and you're a fan of any kind of racing, whether it's road racing or mountain running, and you're familiar again with the Boston Marathon, the New York City Marathon, any marathon, yeah, most of these runners aren't going to be able to keep up with those superstar runners. However, you take some of those marathoners and put them up here, and they're in a completely different arena.
Absolutely. We've had many very exceptional road runners that have come here, professionals that have come here, and they try to race up and down this mountain, and they realize it is a completely different beast.
They look good up and down this road here. They've got it there. The problem is that other 97%, that big rock over there that you got to navigate.
Yeah. Anybody who hasn't been here, you come here and you look up the mountain and you realize just how far you have to crane your neck back up just to see the top of this mountain. And you start to get a sense for what this is all about.
We've spoken so much about Alaska and how unique it is. We think that this is as unique a race as there is. It's one of the oldest mountain running races in the country, let alone the state. But let's talk about the terrain of how some of these youngsters get to train, because they train on some very unique platforms getting ready for this in their cross-country seasons for sure. Not just in the Anchorage area, but throughout the state. We even have a few out-of-staters as well. Absolutely. So you've got an interesting terrain in Alaska. Does that help prepare them more so than if they were coming from out of state?
Absolutely. Being able to train on the steep mountains is really imperative. There's what we call fit, and then there's mountain fit. And mountain fit is very different. That's why you can see a world-class runner come here and not even crack the top 10. It's very specific type of training, especially Mount Marathon, because it is so steep. There's nothing else like it. And that descent is completely unique to this one particular mountain. So we'll have people here today, as you said, from out of state. There's one of the contenders in the boys race is coming up from Colorado. He placed, I believe, 3rd place last year. A young, tiny little guy named Ali. And he's been training in Colorado for all winter. So he might have the advantage of some altitude training. However, he hasn't been on anything as steep as Mount Marathon since he left the state. So training on the mountains is very unique. And to be able to do that kind of specific training, many of these kids are coming off a track season, and they can run a blistering 5-minute mile. However, once they hit those steeps, you're going to separate the guys that have been doing mountain training versus those that have just been running around a track.
And then you've got that group of kids who may be thinking about their futures. We've got a superstar runner who's also thinking about her future in Ali Ostrander, who is still undecided at this very moment in the 9 o'clock hour, with race time less than 5 hours away, still thinking about it. Understandable. She's got a terrific future ahead of her. Well, her future is now, let's face it, a 2-time national champ at Boise State, Olympic aspirations, already a legend with Mount Marathon, but there is the risk of injury. You ever come across kids who have that future and are thinking about bigger and better things and said, you know, I'd love to do Mount Marathon, but...
Absolutely. There are some young runners even here today that are already looking to, they've been invited to go participate in international events. I hearken back to Luke Yeager last year when he was the favorite to win the thing, and he raced to the halfway point, but he was wearing a cast on his arm, and the only way his parents allowed him to race was he had to promise them that he would take it extra careful on the way down, because he had a ski future ahead of him, and he still does. He has a very bright skiing future ahead of him. So here's a young man who has won it before and loved this race so much that he convinced his parents to let him run it with a cast on his arm.
That's dedication right there, ladies and gentlemen.
What extra careful? There's a little wiggle room in that one, isn't there?
Yeah.
It's a bit gray.
Yeah, I think Mom let him get away with one there.
But that's the problem, too, because at some point, if you get to run it, and you see, I'm going to approach it carefully. I'm going to take it easy. I'm not going to worry about winning. And at some point, if you're an athlete and you're a competitor, it's going to kick in. Don't know where or when. Something's going to say, okay, you got to go get it.
Yeah, we'll be speaking about this later, especially in the men's race, where we have the record holder and former champion, David Norris, back this year. And he has high professional and Olympic aspirations. Narrowly missed the Olympics this last winter, and is here to defend his title and his record. However, I spoke with him, and he's still is a little nervous about letting it all rip on the way down, because one misstep could cost him a very bright future, both in running and in skiing.
That's the other part to keep in mind, is that most of the folks here running this race aren't looking to pay a rent with this. They're looking to add another notch to the racing belt and get another medal on that wall. But you have runners like David Norris, like Ali Ostrander, who have to think about not just today, but next week as well, and what could be a living for them. And as you say, it's one thing to do this on the street. It's another to do it on that hill with all kinds of stuff.
Well, and there's no prize money, so you're not going to, definitely not going to get rich off of being the champion of Mount Marathon, although bragging rights all day long and then some.
Yeah, I can tell you, bragging rights to this race are something else. The men's win and the juniors winner, they're going to be, they're king of the mountain for this year. And this is the biggest mountain race in Alaska. It's one of the largest sporting events in the entire state all year long. And this is one of the biggest crowds. I believe it's the biggest audience crowd you'll find for any sporting event in Alaska outside of a stadium, perhaps. So this is a big deal. If you win this race, you are king of the mountain for the next year.
I've noticed that, and this is something I think you've done and I think a lot of runners do, is that if you are the winner of it, the winner all of a sudden gets referred to by just the first name.
Oh, yeah.
It's just your first name thing. They did it in basketball with Michael Jordan. He's just Michael. LeBron. Well, here it's Luke. It's Allie. It's David.
Yeah, it's Emily and Killian. Remember when the foreigners came over and dominated? They both won, the men and women, and then it was a thing of pride. Like, it's not in Alaska hands anymore. We need to get these champions back homegrown.
There was such an exciting race when David was able to, I'm calling him by his first name, was able to bring it back to Alaska. We have yet to bring the women's record back to Alaska, and the women have quite a challenge ahead of themselves to actually overtake Emily Forsberg. But, with Allie's bright future, well, you never can tell. She's an amazing young athlete.
You got Jessica Yeaton, perhaps. She's obviously a terrific racer as well. Great athlete, an Olympian as well.
Be a contender today as well.
No question. And again, you get somebody on the right day, and you never know. But we mentioned that some of these athletes, they have to be careful, but at some point they're going to want to go for this thing and go after it. And that is another storyline that I think folks watching for this first time have to keep in mind, that you've got athletes in here who are doing this literally for the love of the game. I know that LeBron James just signed a contract for over $145 million, and the guys in the NBA are getting rich, and a little contract is 3 years for $33 million. That's not the kind of money you're seeing out here. It is literally for the love of the game out here, folks.
Absolutely. And, these guys are, again, just running for bragging rights. But that's not going to keep them from risking life and limb. And we will see some blood and some mud, and we'll see some tears at the end of this.
Yes, but the key is just not to get hurt. You want to cross the finish line in one piece. So,
we used to jokingly say in years past, you don't want to do anything today that's going to prevent you from going out and having a good time tonight.
Yeah, but we talk about the heat. A couple of people yesterday were saying it's like 2009 temperatures. Well, back in 2009, people were literally falling over from heat stroke. Holly Brooks, two-time Olympian, collapsed right in front of the hospital, in fact, because she was so dehydrated. Her muscles were actually decomposing almost. So hopefully everyone's drank a lot of water, they're prepared, and just mentally being prepared for that heat. If you're not ready for it, you hit the mountain and it's rush and there's no air and it's really, really hot.
Yeah, it's absolutely imperative for runners today. It's not quite as hot. It's actually not nearly as hot as it was in 2009. I ran that race. Watched people keeling over. But it is very important for the racers to monitor what I like to think of as your internal temperature. And you have to keep an eye on that and make sure it doesn't go too far into the red. Because if it does, then you start getting hazy and things happen, unfortunately. There have been some pretty bad falls on this mountain during hot years where people get exhausted.
You mentioned Holly. She's back in this race again.
She's back.
Her. Nice to have her back in this thing as well, the two-time champion. Another one who will have to decide, as she likes to call it, at what point does she go into the pain cave, and how deeply does she decide to go into that pain cave? That's the question.
It will be interesting just to see how they navigate it. Again, the juniors are having it easy. It's the sun is rising, and we're standing in the shade, but I know it's warming up in the sunshine. But the men are going to feel the heat even more, and the women are going to get to enjoy the best of it.
This is the most traffic that we have seen on this trail at one time, obviously, in a year. Obviously, folks have been running this thing for the last 365 days, but you've got a whole group of them running. The way they're running now on this trail, does that set things up for the next two racers, or is the trail going to be what it's going to be?
It actually does make a difference because you got a couple hundred juniors up there right now going through, and on today's conditions, it's not going to change a great deal. If we, say, had a sort of a muddy, slimy course, having the juniors go through kind of peels some of that off and actually makes better grip for the adults later on. But today's, and again, since the juniors only go to the halfway, they're not going to change the conditions all that much. They will loosen up the scree a little bit on the bottom half. The more people that go through, the softer it gets. So in that regard, Emily and the women are going to get to enjoy the fact that there's going to be another 350 men that will be going ahead of them and continuing to break up the shale, make it a little softer. So that's your trade-off for getting to enjoy the afternoon heat.
Yeah, and let's remind people, if you don't know the history, that the men always went second. They were always at 2 o'clock, and then 2 years ago, it shifted, and now the men and women share. 2 o'clock is what people call the prime time spot. When the most people are here, people cheering you on. So now we're switch off. So this year, again, the women are at 2, but next year it'll be different, and the women will go at 11, and the men at 2 o'clock.
Well, you work a primetime shift anyway, so you're in the comfort zone. Come on.
Well, this year, though, I think I'd rather go at 11. It's nice to just kind of get it out of the way and then enjoy the men's race.
And as Clint's saying, we expect this to be one of the best attended races we've seen. Folks, I can tell you around 8:15 this morning, this street was completely empty. And then all of a sudden, boom, they appeared. And we had a line of folks on either side, and that's the way it works. Everyone was just getting themselves ready, huddling inside, staying cool, and then coming out and getting set. You're looking at your watch now, Clint McCool, as well.
Oh, just trying to anticipate how things are developing up there. From looking up there, it looks to me like they are approaching the halfway point at this juncture to begin that very, very rapid descent.
Yeah, that's how I am right there. So we'll continue here as the juniors get set, heading up that mountain and then coming back down. Again, nice to have you with us today on all of our platforms, on KTVA, on social media. Dave Goldman along with Clint McCool, Emily Carlson will be down at the finish line waiting for our winners today. Joe Vihill's going to join us as well. Shirley Young, our producer and director, and our entire cast, our whole crew, up and down this mountain today. 3,022 feet, and you earn every centimeter of it, too.
If it's not sweat, then it's tears and possibly blood.
We made the comparison to the Iditarod, and of course, I think you'd say that this is the typical race for the summertime, like the Iditarod is for the winter, and folks seem to get roped into this thing. We'll continue our coverage in just a moment. Mount Marathon, the 91st running. We're coming right back after this. Welcome back. Our coverage of Mount Marathon, the 91st running, continues here on KTVA. Great to have you with us on this glorious July 4th from Seward, Alaska, wherever you may be joining us. Dave Goldman along with Clint McCool, Emily Carlson, our entire crew from Seward, Alaska. Couldn't think of a better way to spend our July 4th on a terrific weather day. Clint McCool, take a look. What do we got here?
Well, your runners are approaching the halfway point right now, and we'll get a chance to see who the front runners are, but I got about a time of about 2018 so far, and they should be making the turn, and we're going to start seeing some dust flying.
And of course, as we've said, this is a new year So we're going to see 2 new junior winners for both the boys and girls. So perhaps those new champions are going to have to feel their way through this thing a little bit. It's a little different, as we've said, in any athletic competition, of contending and closing the deal. And in Mount Marathon, it's just the same way for anything else.
Absolutely. We do have, we don't have a returning champion in either the boys or the women's, or excuse me, the girls division. So that really makes it exciting. There are several contenders on both sides that are thinking to themselves, yeah, as you can see from the footage, there's amazing drone footage, that we've already got 2 guys that are almost down to what we call the gut, which is a creek bed. These guys are ripping right now. The audience can't really tell how steep that is, but that's a 35-degree angle. All right, that's Michael Connolly coming on through here. Mikey's had this amazing year this year. Had top 10 places in every mountain race so far, and even broke the junior record at Bird Ridge recently. We knew he was going to be the favorite probably coming in today.
You liked him coming in this week.
Yeah, I called that. He's at the, that's what we call the crossover trail right now. He's running great. He's got a very comfortable pace, and he's looking tough.
The spectacular pictures that we have for you today, and what a difference it makes for us and our crew too when we have a little bit of clearance and the clouds decide to go somewhere else.
Yeah, absolutely. It's just amazing footage for women, or excuse me, the folks at home, to get a perspective of how rocky and cliff-like that terrain is.
And this is the spot, as we've discussed, and we've watched even in our past broadcasts, where you're starting to get into that danger zone, where the red zone of you better really be careful where you step and how hard you step.
Absolutely, and we're going to be coming around, and you're going to see Mikey coming off of the mountain here. And there's another really important transition point, because you got to go from running down this 35-degree slope, really rocky technical terrain. Look at that rock, you guys at home. Look at what they're having to navigate. And now he's got to go. That's Glory Rock he just ran over. And now the crowds are cheering for him. He knows he's got a comfortable lead. But what you got to do now is you have to transition to a road. And your legs feel just like 2 blocks of cement at this point. Mikey's got a comfortable lead, though. He's having a great day.
And you got to be careful, too, because it's dry today. We haven't had much precipitation here. The sun's been beating on it. So, again, any little slip, even on some of that, on that dirt, a rock here and there, you got to be careful.
That is Ali Papillon coming in here, and we talked about it earlier. Look at the size of this little guy. He's got a huge heart, though, and looks like he's coming in second place. He's up from Colorado, having done some training down there with his family, and it's great to see him back in Alaska.
Wow, does he look comfortable?
Oh, it's just amazing. He's about 5 foot tall, maybe, and yet he's just got a huge heart.
And a terrific stride too, coming down that thing, and you can tell in Colorado he's used to the terrain, he's used to the hills, and he looks comfortable.
Absolutely, it's great to see him back, and being in Colorado also helps him with adjusting to the heat. So this is not a particularly hot day for him, but Mikey's way out in front. So we are looking at our new boys champion.
All right, so Mikey Conley perhaps ready to take that crown now, and he will be the guy. And I guess we'll be saying Mikey, just Mikey, a one name deal, first name basis here.
Yeah, he worked really hard at it this year. He made a tremendous leap from last year. He was 6th place last year, but trained very hard to improve his mountain stamina. And as I mentioned before, he's at a top 10 finish in the adults division in every race this year.
Well, when you're getting that police escort here, you know things are looking good for you. And I think this is one of the most impressive times for me watching these runners when they're coming out, because they've just gone up and down this hill. It's grueling, it's difficult, it's tough. And then they're running this road like nothing's happened, like they're out for a Sunday stroll.
You can see the determination on Mikey's face. He's hurting. I can tell you from experience. Look at that, ladies and gentlemen. He is hurting. But I'll also tell you, unfortunately, I never got to chase the police car that closely. But he's on cloud 9 right now.
You were close, though.
I was close.
Folks, the guy I'm sitting with was a worthy champion, folks. Didn't happen, but I can tell you, nobody knows this hill the way the guy sitting next to me knows it.
So look at the look on his face. I mean, I'm happy for him. He has worked super hard this year. And right now, there's no place he'd rather be than chasing that car.
Right, and the quick turnaround to see, do I have to rev it up or can I take a little bit off and go neutral? And now he knows.
He knows he's got it. We're coming up on the big right-hand turn. He'll be able to come down Main Street, and this is the glory run. You got thousands of people lining the street.
A lot can happen on the way down.
That man is working And he's only 16 years old, but I'd say that man is working hard.
And now you get the view that he gets. He's got the sign there. He's got the car bringing him in. He's got fans lining up on either side.
Yeah, you're going to see him get up on his toes now. You see the look on his face. He's trying to, he realizes it, but everybody wants to give it their all. He's not just going to coast to the finish line. He's going, this is a PR for him, and he's going as hard as he can.
And this is a new picture, too, as we noticed today with the fire department and the flag out.
Yeah.
Great look.
It's a great shot.
And that is as well, too. Look at that. He's got the road to himself, literally.
Yeah, that's an amazing win, a very impressive win by Mikey Connolly. But again, he's worked at it hard all spring and all summer, and this is a culmination. Mikey Connolly is going to be the new king of the mountain for the juniors.
For about 8 hours out of the entire year, you have this moment here where the road belongs to the runners. And this is the moment now that Mikey Connolly will take with him, not just for this year, but for the rest of his life. This is the moment you never forget.
Absolutely. Mikey's actually going to be going overseas and competing for the U.S. team in the junior division in the Sky Racing Series. And this is a great feather in his cap.
So Mikey Connolly will be the first winner here, and a very impressive time, too, as Clint McCool says. He is going to take this race and take the field in under 27 minutes. Congratulations.
That is an awesome time to do a 26 on a hot day like this. That is an outstanding performance.
All right. Let me know when you want me.
And the hose down, too. Mikey Connolly, he'll take it. He's happy to get that.
That's his sister coming in.
Wow, way to go. A very impressive performance. And, of course, now it's everyone else coming in behind him. But Mikey Connolly is your winner, the first of the winners today, 2018 Mount Marathon junior winner. You could see he paid the price, but he's got himself a title now.
He's on top of the world right now. And here comes Ali Papillon coming in for second place, looking very comfortable.
Something tells me we're going to see this guy again, too.
Yeah. As soon as he hits his growth spurt, he's going to be amazing.
He runs. He looks like he's floating.
Yeah.
He just looks like he's floating right there.
I think he weighed over
Ready if you want.
75 pounds. That's actually Ollie's older brother coming in, looks like, for maybe about 4th or 5th place. That's a good performance.
So a couple of top fivers from Colorado. Mikey Connolly, though, from Alaska, is our winner of the first race. All right, let's head down. Emily Carlson with our winner, Mikey Connolly, who's ready to discuss.
He is. He's. And for words, Mikey Connolly, congratulations. You were 6th last year. Winning this year, what was the key you do differently?
All the way from diet to rest to mentally strengthening my body, envisioning, seeing the cop car. So it's all mental, really. I just did it differently from.
So.
The up was great. Weather conditions were on spot. They couldn't have been better. The down,
Okay, Emily, we're going to take it over here for just a moment, and we'll get your mic switched out and straightened out here as the rest of our winners come in, and we're going to call them all winners. Mikey Connolly, though, is our victor today. The first of the winners today for Mount Marathon. And now they're coming in at a pretty good clip here, Clint. So he had some traffic behind him, so he couldn't falter there.
Yep, absolutely, ladies and gentlemen. You're taking a look at this gentleman, number 267, with blood streaming down his chest. I guess he tried hard enough.
He tried for 2. I mean, we figured knees, we figured elbows, chest. You don't see that too often.
Yeah, well, we call it doing a Superman because you drag a toe, and the next thing you know, you're flying chest first into the gravel.
So somebody's going to get the Freddy Krueger Award, and so far he's got the early one today.
Yeah,
I think there'll be more as we come today along.
There will be, especially when the juniors give it their all, but you're going to see some adults coming across the line that have left a little blood on the mountain.
This is a great moment here for these kids to see this come through. You've got the fans here, and again, hats off to the fans. It's a long day, but the fans, look at them line this up, and it's not just concerned parents. It's just folks who are coming to support.
Yeah.
the runners today. And to get that applause, that means so much.
Yeah, it is. Running down Main Street, there's no feeling quite like it when you've got thousands of people yelling for you. And you're just looking at that finish line thinking, I can get it. I can get there. I can get there.
And here they are. And the strides, again, to me, so impressive because they've just gone up and down this hill. They've paid the price, and now they have this quick sprint, if you want to call it, on the road here. But that feels like a long run.
It's only 0.7 of a mile, but I'll tell you, it's the longest 0.7 miles you've ever run.
This one better. Can you hear me?
All right, let's get back out now to Emily
Well, now
Carlson. We got
Gino
ourselves
keeps
straightened
talking
up
to
there.
them,
Emily Carlson. All right, Emily's a good journalist. She'll go get the story. We trust her. We'll go back and get Mikey. I think he'll be available today. As our runners continue to come in and have a seat, lay down, whatever you need. He's okay, though. Thumbs up. That's good to know. Again, and I think folks are going to be even more careful today, too, Clint, with the weather. We've discussed it. We've had a good laugh about it, but it can get serious at some points, too.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh, looks like Emily might be getting Mikey back again.
All right, Emily Carlson, go for it.
All right, I do have Mikey back, and we have a mic that works. So, Mikey, you were telling me earlier, last year you were 6th place. Now winning, what was the key to your win today?
You know, watching running videos, watching Kilian Jornet. Kilian Jornet is a big a person I look up to a lot, and him being here about 3 or 4 years ago, really, I don't know. I saw him run, and David Norris himself. I mean, I look up to those kind of guys, and I've always wanted to kind of win this race. I've always envisioned it in my head coming off the mountain, and today it was a dream come true. And this morning, for the last 4 weeks, I've been envisioning this, and it's finally come true.
Congratulations, you had a commanding lead the way up, the way down. What was the most challenging part today?
The shale was that I never expect that. It always hits me differently. And it's different. So
you're going to come back next year. What's your focus now that you're champion? Come back and take the win again.
Definitely hold my championship. Definitely train harder than ever, and maybe go for the record.
Congratulations, Mikey Connolly, the junior champion for the boys here today. Dave.
Thank you. Been doing this a long time, Clint, and I must say, after listening to that interview, that may have been the most honest interview I've ever heard. Everything he said, you believed, and you knew he was giving you it straight.
Yeah, absolutely. I know Mikey personally, and he has worked, again, really, really hard. His performance this summer has been just a quantum leap from where he was last year, but he earned every bit of it.
Your girls winner, Kendall Kramer from Fairbanks, Alaska.
So as our coverage continues, here we go. That's a familiar spot for you there, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. We colloquially call that either Victory Rock or Glory Rock is kind of more common. And it's just a little high spot there where sometimes the runners like to stop and show off their happiness, shall we say, their joy for having completed this thing. And it's a great place. All the people that are in costume, we'll see some very notable costumes a little later when the adults get out there.
Mm-hmm. We saw a few slide down there. I'd call it Don't Fall Down Rock at that point, especially there. It was very interesting to listen to Mikey. He said a very honest interview with Emily. Just the fact that you never know whom you are influencing. Kilian Jornet obviously is worldwide, but David Norris comes in and does it. And David Norris now is the guy that Mikey Connolly's watching when David takes the record of 41:26 a couple of years ago. And so you've got these young bucks who are looking at this, and now Mikey Connolly says, you know what? That's the guy I want to be like. And sure enough, here he is.
Absolutely. They're inspiring athletes, and these are the next generation coming up.
Okay, so another break. Here we go with about 35 minutes in. Come on, cross that finish line. You've earned it. And we will get to a break and come back and get to our first finish line as well. Mount Marathon coverage 2018 continuing after this. And welcome back. Our coverage, Mount Marathon 2018, continuing here on KTVA. Good morning on this July 4th. We have a boys winner, Mikey Connolly, and we have a girls winner as well, Emily Carlson, standing by with her at the finish line. Emily.
Yeah, I have Kendall Kramer with me. She's the girls champion. Tell me, how did you win today?
Well, I knew that it was going to be super packed on the uphill, so I made sure to get my spot early. But that wasn't much of a problem because I did so much training for track and field this spring, and so flats are really a strong spot for me now, which was helpful on the finish too, but mostly getting a place to the start. So.
How do you feel today? You look great. You're kind of shaking out your muscles, but you don't look like you even sweat very much.
Yeah, I don't sweat much. It's mostly all in my lungs. It's just, this race is just so fun because it's completely like aerobic, and I don't know which one's the respiratory one, but it's just a show of who's the fittest, and it's just, yeah, it's so fun to just see how people rank up.
Well, you are the fittest in the women today. Coming back next year, are you going to come back, and how do you defend your title?
Well, I'm pretty sure I'm going to be coming back because this is just so much fun, and it's not like any other race you'll ever do. And there's so many challenges, and there's like a billion different courses you can go on to get to the same spot. So I'm hoping to do this for a long time.
Well, Kendall Kramer Fairbanks, congratulations, the girls champion today here at Mount Marathon. Dave, back to you.
Emily, thanks. It is so refreshing to hear the winners here because they just give it all to you, and it's straight, and you can hear the joy and the excitement of winning and that first time of crossing that finish line, and here's how I did it, and here's how I'm going to try and do it again.
Absolutely. We spoke about it earlier about having not any returning champions, and just the excitement of these young runners that, you know, both of our winners this year are 16, which means they've got one more year in the juniors, and you heard both of them talking about how they want to come back and defend their titles. And it was also great to see Kendall Kramer from Fairbanks wasn't one of the early contenders. We were looking at some of the Anchorage runners, and yet she came down from Fairbanks and surprised us all and made it look very comfortable.
Third place last year, so she was on the radar, but there were some others. But again, she's one of those that says, and you've talked about this too, about how this mountain rewards fit people, and it's exactly what she says. If you come in with the conditioning, you have a chance to win this thing.
Absolutely. She actually spoke to the fact that she used her experience from the track season to, you know, get a good spot on the mountain, she called it. That just means she got to the mountain quickly to beat the bottleneck, and then also used that road speed on the run into the finish line to cement her victory.
They also, the two of them, again, having spoken to a handful of athletes over my career here, is that they have that sound of a champion, the way they spoke. And Mikey, I think in particular, the visioning of it. He says, for the last month, I've been envisioning following that police car. He's probably run this thing how many times thinking, I'm going to pretend like that police car is going to drive me in here. And sure enough, he had it there.
Absolutely. I mean,
the great ones can do that.
Yeah, mental fortitude. I mean, this is it's certainly a physical exercise, however, but much of it is mental. It is believing in yourself, and it's suffering, and being able to focus through that pain, through that effort. You know, this is no joke. I mean, these people are putting everything they've got into it. It is painful, I can tell you from personal experience, and you just have to stay focused. And Mikey said how much of it was mental for him, how much of his mental preparation really came into play in envisioning being that first person to chase that police car.
You know what? These are two that you can see for years and years to be doing this, and once they are of age to get into the men's and women's division, to be challengers as well. We're expecting to see them. They seem to have that look, that feel, that approach too.
Sure, and we're going to see Luke Yeager a little later today, and he's already had a couple of real strong performances this year, and he's looking to tell the other men that he may only be 19 years old, but he's the real deal.
And that'll be interesting because, again, it's a different deal. Now you're going up from, say, AAA to the majors, and so he's running with the big guys. You got to make a different approach. You've got to go all the way up to the hill and all the way down. That's a different story. He's been training for the last 10 years now for that halfway point. Now he's got to train the other way, and that'll be a different approach. At some point, he may have to dig down
Absolutely. He's going to have to dig really deep. He's had a couple of real strong races this year, but those races have demonstrated the difference. Yeah, it's really demonstrated the difference between the juniors and the seniors, because the strength of being able to run the full race versus running half of the race. It's a different ball game.
And we have that street closed sign, but the street is open for these runners as they continue to come in. The juniors coming through as our continuing coverage. Mount Marathon, 42 and change. I think a lot of people would take 42 and change and look as good as he did crossing that line too.
Absolutely.
That's the impressive part, is that these kids, look at the sprint, look at the gait of all of them coming as they come across. They're not crawling through.
Look at this little guy. He's
fantastic.
Even down to the end, these two are sprinting it out.
Look at that. That's a nose-to-nose wire finish there. We've seen a couple of kids take a spill, too, just as they've come across. You know that they're giving everything they have for that last moment. And look at that, the tall and the short there. Twins.
Yeah.
Great stuff. And a great race day here. Mount Marathon as our coverage continues. Let's head back down. Emily Carlson with a special guest.
Yes, I have Governor Bill Walker with me here today. Happy 4th of July, Governor.
To you, Emily.
Everyone loves being in Seward. What's the reason you wanted to be down here for 4th of July?
I mean, every place in Alaska is unique, obviously, on the 4th of July, but there's an excitement here with right now, the young people coming across this finish line. This Mount Marathon race has been something that it's just captured Alaskans and across the nation. So it's exciting to see, really like the young people that are here. But there's some folks that have been doing this for 20, 30 years in this race, and it's just absolutely, it's a very Alaskan thing to do. We have the Iditarod in the winter, we have Mount Marathon in the summer. It's just really exciting.
It's fun and exciting, and people are celebrating today, but also on people's minds is seafood and the tariffs. China is slated to impose a 25% tariff on seafood at the end of the week. What is the impact here in Alaska, and are you worried?
Well, I'm always worried anytime you talk about anything that's going to restrict trade in Alaska. So I met with the seafood processors last week, the vast majority of them, to talk to them about that. You know, we do a lot of our seafood that goes to Asia is for secondary processing. That is not taxed, so there's no tariff on the secondary processing. So I came back from Washington, D.C. last week. I met with Secretary Ross to talk about the trade issue. I saw Secretary of Treasury to talk about, what we can do in Alaska as far as more trade to China. That's really what this is really all of the trade issue is all about. So Alaska's in a unique position because of our location. Once again, our location is our best friend, and the opportunity is there largely because of our location. So we're working with the Chinese government, with the U.S. government at the highest level to see what we can do as a state to help offset the trade deficit. And we have $1 trillion project we're working on, as we all know. The only $1 trillion project that's actually in the United States, a large energy project. So a lot of support for that, a lot of push on that. So we're excited about the opportunity that the silver lining of the trade issue may be Alaska is going to shine.
All right, thank you, Governor Walker, for talking with us. Happy 4th of July.
Thank you so much.
Dave, Clint, back to you.
Emily, thank you, and thank you, Governor, as well. 45 minutes and 45 seconds, a good time to finish on Mount Marathon, your first race for many of these youngsters. So look at the sprint. I mean, this is great. Folks, these kids have just gone up and down this hill, and they look like they just got out of bed and got a booster shot. They look fantastic.
Yeah, it's amazing what that finish line will do for your adrenaline level. You think you're tired until you realize that maybe you can beat one more person across the line.
Wait, the quicker I get to that finish line, the quicker I get some pancakes.
Exactly.
All right, let's jump out for another break here as our coverage will continue. Mount Marathon 2018, we have a junior winner on the men's and the women's side, and the two other races still to come. Look at that great looking shot. Coverage continuing right after this. It's a picture we always hope to see when we are here on July the 4th, and that's as good as it gets. Mount Marathon 2018 will be one that we circle and mark off. We'll use that one a few more times during the year for the beauty shots.
Absolutely. It's absolutely stunning here today. It was an amazing night. I was up there last night at about 11 o'clock, and it was just unbelievable. The views is incredible.
So we've got a couple of winners already in for the juniors. More winners, and we're going to call them all winners as they come through. Comfortable, confident, happy.
Absolutely.
And coming through. The juniors are finishing up. We still, of course, have the men and the women as well. Interesting deal last night. Again, one of those great traditions we have here is that if you don't get in on the lottery system, you can pay your way in, too.
Yep, the auction.
They auctioned last night, and we had an interesting deal last night. For the first time ever, as Emily Carlson told us there, the women's bid went for more than the men's. $750 to get in for the women, as opposed to $650 for the men, which is actually lower because you've seen it go much higher than that.
Yeah, absolutely. We had some auctions where people paid, I know this is hard to believe for you folks watching from home, that have paid several $1,000s. I believe the top was close to $4,000 just so that they could get into this torture fest. And it's an interesting tradition. Last night, though, they bucked the trend, and the prices to get in were actually low. If you call spending $600 or $700 to do this a low price, I've been saying for years that for $4,000 they could have my bib number.
Yeah.
I'll go to Hawaii. But last night's auction was a little unusual, and the fact that the women's auction numbers went higher than men's.
Well, the kids didn't pay that, and they shouldn't have to, and they didn't. As we see our next group of finishers coming in over the 50-minute mark, and Happy as well. He's one of those real juniors, super junior coming in.
Yep.
And this young lady, I have a feeling, is going to find her way into the adult division pretty soon as well. And now the water, the drink, the hydration, and the rest of the day now ahead of them to enjoy themselves and think about Mount Marathon. For many of these youngsters, this is not their first, but there are some first-timers out there who are finishing this race. And that's an important thing to do, too. You know, something else we haven't discussed is that you don't see people pull out of this thing. You find your way through. They want to get you through this thing, and they want everybody to finish this thing, finish happy, so that they do come back for next year.
Absolutely. You know, it is about starting a tradition and continuing a tradition. This isn't, it is very much a competitive race, but again, as we mentioned earlier, it's a celebration of summer, and that's the way most of us look at it. It's about fitness, it's about health, but celebrating Alaskan summer by doing something very uniquely Alaskan.
As our juniors continue to come in, we still have 2 more races to come today, as we've got the men at 11, and the ladies will take over at 2 o'clock today. And still a big storyline. It will be a race time decision. Gee, in the NFL by Friday, we have an injury report. We still do not know about Allie O and whether or not she's going to run it. You said you spoke to her sister this morning, and even she doesn't know.
That's right. I got the shrug of the shoulders, said that she maybe not. So we'll see. We can only hope. It'd be great to see Allie to toe the starting line, but with her potential professional career ahead of her, only she can make that decision.
And no one could blame her if she decides, you know what, I'm going to pull back on this one. We do know this, David Norris, a record holder and the 2016 champ, will be taking the road in just over an hour for the men, trying to pick up another championship and perhaps challenge that record. With as fit as that guy is, you never know.
I got to tell you, I'm really looking forward to that race. There's some top contenders, and I think we could see something pretty unique here today. And David is poised.
So that'll do it for the first of our 3 legs today, but plenty more coverage coming today here for Mount Marathon. We've got a couple of junior winners now waiting to crown a men's winner and a women's winner. Our continuing coverage today on KTVA. So for the entire crew, Emily, Clint, and our producer and director, Shirley Young, I'm Dave Goldman. Thank you for joining us here from Seward, and we'll see you in just over an hour.